Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for joining How to Speak Maintenance. My name is Jason Fein, and I'm now the Vice President of Maintenance at Dominium. So it's changed. So I've got a new role and a new opportunity to continue to bring content to you all about maintenance and office and how we can collaborate together. So with me, as always, is Becca Ramati. She's the Vice President of the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation. Hey, Becca.
Hey, Jason, glad to still have you with us.
I'm excited. I'm excited. You guys just finished the TAA conference, correct?
We sure did. It
You
was
guys had a good
great.
time. And
It
Dom,
was great.
congratulations on your attendance. Becca, what did he win, or was he part of? I
Dom
forgot.
was a finalist. He was a
Yeah.
finalist for the Maintenance Professional of the Year, which is a big
Uh,
deal. That's
That's
all of
amazing.
Texas. There are
Thank you.
only 5 of them. And it was really exciting to see somebody I knew up there.
I got a
Good
special
times. Good
part
time.
in my heart for you, Dom. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sorry. Well, today, I wanted to bring some special guests on to share their thoughts on technology and how it's changing the way that we complete maintenance tasks and how we communicate between the office and maintenance. So, with us, we have Dom, our returning guest. Like I said before, Dom, this is you're a two timer now, so you got 3 more times and you get your jacket. So, you for those that are listening and this is their first time meeting you, you mind telling them about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Dominic Maddalena. Coming up on my 7th year with Camden Properties. Started as a make-ready tech, and through gracious people that I've worked with and led me stepping stones to become a market maintenance manager within Camden. So be able to help our people in Dallas with preventative maintenance programs, PM budgets, EPA proctor exams, CPO, helping them complete projects on site that would otherwise hinder them from their day to day. So,
That's awesome. Thanks for joining us. Then we have Dan Clapper. I had the opportunity to meet Dan in a meeting the other day, and I was getting to know Interplay and their platform, and I was introduced to Dan, and I asked if he could join our call, and so I'm really excited for you to join us. So Dan, why don't you tell the listeners about what you do and what your focus is at Interplay?
Sure. So, at Interplay Learning, we're an online training platform for the skilled trades. So, content like HVAC, electrical, plumbing, safety, things like that. One thing we do a little bit different is we kind of almost build it in a video game style, if you will. So we build simulations. So we have a simulation of an apartment, and we walk people through the make ready steps or how to fix a garbage disposal or anything like that. And really our goal is to make the techs more knowledgeable and more efficient on their work orders.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of technology and video games. It used to be my pastime. So when I started hearing about there's points and leaderboards, I was all in. So it's good times.
Cool.
Well, let's kick it off. I'm a big fan of technology, and I'm excited to get this conversation started. So I think we'll start with Dan. I'd like to ask you, how is Interplay working on the future of building maintenance skills and improving the way that our office teams and our maintenance teams communicate?
Yeah, I mean we see this talent shortage everywhere, right? I mean, so what we're starting to see is a lot more apartment association or apartment complexes and organizations. They're having to hire people with less and less skills. So they're bringing training in house more. So maybe people just with great attitudes that have a little bit of technical knowledge, and let's just expand from there. So really what we do with our online platform is just kind of like pre-built pathways to take somebody that's kind of green and bring them into the business. And that really helps on the recruiting side. If you're out there looking for people and you can say, look, I can put you through a couple month course to get you into becoming a tech level 1 or a tech level 2, and kind of give them a path. It's super awesome. And, our industry needs it now more than ever, really.
It's true. I like what you were talking about. More and more companies are bringing people in that are green, and they'd rather hire for attitude and train the skills. So that's really important to be able to meet your customers and give them the platform to learn. So Dom, you've been in the field. I mean, you said you started off as a maintenance tech and you grew all the way to a market maintenance manager. And yeah, tell me, how does technology and what Dan is talking about, how have you seen that impact the way that the site teams operate?
Yeah, I think technology is everything, right? We've come from putting our make readies and everything on a whiteboard to now on a computer, right? And everything's on site and it's live. And just with that specific scenario, I think it's amazing that if I was on site, I could be on one side of the property, you guys could be on another side of the property, and we could both use an app on our phone to look at the same make ready board, and you can see, hey, I've completed the turn in this unit. And if you were my supervisor, you could say, hey, I'm ready for cleaners to come in here now, without both of us having to necessarily stop what we're doing, walk back to the shop, talk with each other, and make sure we're all on the same page. It's all live. And same for the office, right? They don't have to stop and call a technician or a make ready tech or anything and say, hey, where are we at with apartment 1? They can go right on the make ready board and see it. And I really like what Dan was saying with being able to see a disposal or things like that. See an apartment in VR, that's amazing. Just because not everyone's a read learner, right? Some people are visual learners. I think a lot of people are kind of hands-on visual learners. So to see that, I'm very interested in that. It sounds very cool. I'd like to check that out myself.
We know how much Jason dislikes the whiteboard. We have a whole episode
Yeah.
about that early on for those longtime
Yeah.
listeners. But I think it's really important that we're embracing technology for so many reasons. But one is centralization. We see that happening all over the place. So things need to be increasingly at one place where everyone can ask, take a look at those things, no matter where they are, like you were saying, Dom. But also when it comes to training and recruiting, those things are so critical and very much what the Education Foundation does in bringing new people in. And if you can say, we're going to easily train you and it's going to be virtual and it's going to be fun, I mean, that's such a selling point. And it gives you the time and maybe even it gives you extra time to give some hands-on learning, which when we've done maintenance training programs and with providers like Goodwill previously, and we have them in Houston and in Austin now, they always want more hands-on. That is the number one request of every class that I've ever been part of, is that they want more hands-on. So Dan, I would imagine that this gives more flexibility in terms of learning because you can do it more often than just going to one class.
Yeah, 100%. So if you can picture a simulated environment, and we build our simulations so you can do it on a tablet, a desktop, or even virtual reality goggles. But if you can picture any type of equipment, you can practice on. So if I'm a trainer, I can say, go work on this garbage disposal, or go work on this microwave, or this dishwasher, or this HVAC unit. And I can get in the practice. I can go through the service steps 5, 10, 15 times before I get out to the actual job site. And I mean, simulations have been around forever. You think about flying a helicopter or flying, even doctors use simulations before they cut somebody open. So it's really just taking this really effective strategy to learn and bringing it to the trades world.
And if I can, Dan, I think one thing that's really cool about that is, right, you can simulate multiple issues, I would imagine, with an appliance, right? Where, before we'd have to take a microwave and maybe cut a wire, right? And you're, actually ruining the microwave and to simulate these issues, right? So I think with that program, that's really cool because I'm sure you can simulate any kind of issue that a washing machine may have or a dryer or what have you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I've had the opportunity to work with a couple different property management companies over the past 25 years. And one of the biggest issues has always been the amount of computers and technology, access to technology in the maintenance shops. Dan, maybe you could talk about how your platform is going mobile.
Yeah. So one thing we've kind of found, and this gets more when you start thinking about the tie between the maintenance workers and the rest of the people in the office, right? Is we're really looking at training it. We're calling it just-in-time training. So for example, if I have a service ticket to go change out a toilet, maybe I can watch a quick 3-minute video and just brushing up. And what that'll do is it'll give me confidence. And now maybe instead of it taking 2 or 3 hours, I can get that done in an hour and a half. And that now everyone's vibing together. They can, like you said, you can see the leaderboard, you can see who has what work going on, and it increases that job time efficiency, which, I mean, that makes everybody happy. So
Definitely. I mean, with your guys' platform, I'm sure you can see that maybe leasing individuals or managers in the office are taking some of these classes. I remember some of these HVAC classes in person were very high level, full of acronyms. If you didn't know anything about maintenance, then you might get lost in the shuffle during the class. But I had the opportunity to look at your platform, and it was very it was layman's terms. It was making sure that you understood what you were working on. So I really like your platform.
yeah, and I think that the concept here too that we're really leaning into, and I think just the market in general. You think about TikTok and a lot of social media, we really focus on micro learning. We're not going to give you like a 3-hour course on HVAC. We're gonna, it's broken into 3 to 5 minute videos, like a quick thing. Then you get to work at what you want to do, and then learn something tomorrow, just a little bit, and keep stacking that learning. So it's super effective.
Dom, what are your thoughts on the capabilities of sitting in front of an HVAC unit or an appliance, and all of a sudden I can pull up a 2-minute video and get some quick tips?
Yeah, I mean, we've all been there before, right? You're staring at a washing machine, a fridge, and you're pulling up YouTube, right? Trying to check it out. And so to have a program like that is specifically designed for that, it would be amazing, especially if we could, get to a point of I'm working on a Whirlpool or GE, Amana. You could even get that far down into it and type in model numbers would be amazing. And kind of like you said earlier, having these training classes where you're pulling everyone off-site to go to a different location and learn something is time away, right? And while we want to be there, I think in the back of everyone's mind, they can't help but thinking what's going on their property, right, while they're there. And I know that can be a struggle. So to see some online training like that, like Dan said, could be a 3 to 5 minute video, right? Maybe 10 minutes at the max, I think is amazing. It's a little bit of your time, and then you're right back at doing what you're doing. So for me, I like it. I'm excited for it.
That's a great point, because if I'm a community manager and there's 40 service requests and there's 5 turns and I got move-ins this weekend, right? I just painted a picture. I felt my stress levels increasing just talking about it.
Yeah.
But if I'm a community manager and I'm trying to run a business, sending somebody away for 2 days to do an HVAC class sounds like I'm just going to lose productivity. But in the meantime, we're not investing in our people and giving them the opportunity to grow. And that's the worst thing we can do, is to sit there and after a year, take a look back at your team and say, did they move anywhere? Did they grow? Did they know
Right.
more? And as a manager, and that'll help build the trust between the office and the maintenance teams, is if a manager can be able to invest and give somebody 3 minutes or 5 minutes or even 30 minutes to sit down and take a online class, and then give them the technology and then the platform to be able to sit in a different room where it's quiet, it's not in the shop where a bunch of activity is happening, they can be able to really do some learning. We can be able to grow our people. So that's important stuff.
It's of course a balance. We just are coming off of a week of the one conference at the TA one conference, and it's important to be able to balance those things, having the experience of going to a live class. But there's you can't put a value or a price, I don't think, on those additional. You're not necessarily going to send someone who's never been in the industry before to the one conference. So having these whole different sorts of education opportunities is so important. And it's really an important part of this industry, I think, is making sure that education stays at the forefront. And I think that's something that we should celebrate.
Definitely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Well, Becca, do we have any questions or comments from LinkedIn Live? You're muted.
We don't have any questions yet. So
come on, listeners. Next call, I want to get a bunch of questions by the time we finish these calls.
I'd be curious. So we've found some great training that can be done online utilizing technology. What about some of the things to make life easier on the maintenance teams, the office teams, residence calls, dealing with, who knows, all the different things that happen on site?
Yeah, so I mean, coming from on site, I know using our mobile maintenance phone has been a big thing for us when it comes to, just like you're talking about. Let's take it even as simple down as printing tickets, right? The guys would come in the mornings and sit at the printer and print out 5, 10, 15, 20 tickets, right? And they're writing on their sheet what's going on, what they did, what apartment it was, this, that, and the other. And then they'd have to go back to the computer and log in and close them all out, right? Or someone would have to do that, right? Here, hand it to the office. Here's my stack I completed. And now on our mobile maintenance phone, we have that capability, right? Of I can just go right through the list, and if we're assigning those tickets to ourselves in there, I can see like, hey, Jason's on apartment 1, Dan's on apartment 2, Becca's on 3. I'll go to apartment 4, right? I can see that in the app who's assigned and open it up. I can see the permission to enters. I can complete the ticket on the phone. It's done. And the same way as, if Jason finished before me, he's not going to apartment 4 when he was done because he can see I'm already there. So even just simple things like that's been, I think, amazing for productivity. And like we chatted about with the Make Ready board being online and on the app, no one's getting stopped throughout the day to figure out when apartment 1's getting painted. We know when it's getting painted, right? We've updated those notes in there. So simple things like that have been great, I think, for our productivity level, right? Is people aren't stopping what they're doing. They're able to continue to work throughout the day.
Yeah. I think that technology has advanced very quickly. I think it exploded, and it's awesome and it's exciting. But our IT departments at our different companies have become very scared, and they've had a lot of restrictions, right? Because we need to protect our intellectual data. We have to make sure that we're protecting our network. So if you're using a company provided phone, maybe you don't have access to YouTube, or things were locked down on your device. So then that way we could protect our network. But we're at this point now where YouTube has been around for a while, and some of these other platforms have been there, and we need to start figuring out better ways to be able to get that content, like what Dan's building and what Interplay is building. So then that way Dom and his team can be able to, like we said, be in the field, have information readily available, and be able to make sure we're doing everything we can to be as efficient as possible. So I'm a big fan of technology. So
Dan, I think this is a question for you, but will the platform have API for integrating with other platforms that the property requires?
Yeah, our platform, we have API capability. Typically, the main API is with HRIS or some sort of employee management software. So as you hire people, they could get automatically put into a group of courses. Like this is the first, this is the 90-day onboarding series of courses I want you to get through the next 90 days, right? So there is API back and forth for sure.
Yeah, because you guys have other things than just maintenance training. I think I heard CPO, EPA. There's a active shooter. There's risks classes. It's across the board. So yeah, it's good stuff. Well, before we finish up, I always like to ask a little question. So my question for both of you for this call is, what has been one of the most largest innovations in technology that blew your mind in the past, I don't know, you could say 5-10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say it's probably AI, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think there's so much information out there that we can get so quickly now, like super quick. So now, how do we transfer information into knowledge? And I think that's the trick here. Like we can get the information, but how do we actually apply it? So I'm just super excited how quick we can get the information now.
Yeah, I'd have to second that as well. I mean, seeing things, I have 2 little ones, right? And they, ask me questions all the time, and I'll find out that answer and they're like, how do you know that? And it's like, I didn't know that, but together we found that out, and so I think that's definitely a huge thing is AI as well. And then I think just being able to, I've been a fan forever of YouTube and uploading videos, doing things like this, podcast, things like this, that there is a topic for everything, absolutely everything, right? And so when someone comes to me and says, hey, I can't figure this out, I don't know what to do, I'm like, oh man, let's dig together, right? We can dig and find this information out. And I think that kind of goes back to what Dan's saying, right? Is the information's there, we just have to dig a little deeper and find it. And so that's been a huge one for me.
Definitely.
And
Becca,
if
do you
anyone
have one?
wants to read, I don't know. AI's a good one. The fact that I could make this stream live to LinkedIn is a great one. I'm good with it all. And if anyone wants to reach out to either of you on LinkedIn, is that the best way to reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. Email as well. Either way.
Dan,
Perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
LinkedIn or email.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you both again for joining us. I hope you had a great time. I told you it wasn't scary being on a podcast, just conversation. So, but I hope you guys can join us again for another chat. So,
Absolutely.
listeners, if you or someone you know is interested in any of our previous conversations, you can find us on the go as a podcast wherever you download your podcasts, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn. And once again, thank you, Becca, for making this happen.
Sure, and we'll see you next month in the last Wednesday of the month, our normal time.
Sounds great.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.